Welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Point. I'm your host, Syed Niaz Ahmed. With us in our studios online is Dr. Qazi Mukhlisur Rahman. We also have another guest who will be joining us later, inshallah. Dr. Qazi Mukhlisur Rahman is a general practitioner in London, but he has been a great observer of things going around, particularly in Bangladesh and also around Bangladesh, in the neighborhood on the subcontinent, and also all over the world, particularly in this region, the Western Europe. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mukhlisur Rahman.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you today, sir?
I'm quite all right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for giving us time despite the fact that today is a working day for you. Thank you for making time for us.
Today is my half day. So I finished at 12 o'clock.
Oh, great. Oh, great. That makes you much better. Your condition is much better than what I did. I had to drive for 3 hours today. Today being Friday. The traffic is terrible. We have a number of topics to discuss today, like COP26, the warming up of the world that we live in. It's pretty cold in London tonight, but things are getting hotter. Then we have Rohingyas on the border of Bangladesh and within Bangladesh and all over the world. And then the events of 1975 in the life of a young nation that became independent in 1971, and then came the blackest night in 1975, 15th of August, when Bangabandhu was assassinated. His family, most of his family members were assassinated. And within 3 months again, there was another night when 4 of the top leaders were assassinated inside the prisons. And then there was upheaval here and there. People were not sure who was in charge, what was happening. So we just wanted to have after so many years, we wanted to have a better understanding of what had happened in 1975. But before we go to that, I would like you to shed some light on what is happening on Bangladesh-Rohingya border. We'll go to the history a little later, but what is the situation right now? Dr. Mukhlis.
The situation right now is we have more than 800,000 Rohingya, but government says it is 1,200, and some says around 1.8 million. But the point is, these people are in an extremely desperate state. Since 47, they have been repeatedly tortured, driven out from the country.
Their own country.
Not once or twice, several times. And most of their population have been killed. And what was left over in 2017, half of them has to flee Arakan, which is Rakhine now, to save their life to Bangladesh. They came by foot and by boat with their family, children.
What was the reason? Why were they driven out of their own country? I mean, they were not troublemakers, as far as I understand. They were peace-loving people.
Yes. Then you need to go a little bit in the background of history.
Right.
The history is like this. Rohingya was a free nation for 5,000 years, from 3,325 BC till 1724. It was run by 226 kings, and there has never been any problem. It was one of the important and most prosperous country in the world at that time. They had business all over the world, Asia, Europe, Arabia, Japan, you name it.
And with the access to warm water.
From there, then the Middle Eastern, usually Arabians, seafarer, who are the business people in 6th and 8th century came there to do business because it is a seaport. We have Bengal there.
Right.
They flourished. Then the Arakanese came in 12th century, and the government was very, very powerful at that time, and they took help from Arakanese to improve their military power, and they became more powerful. And you'll be surprised to hear that they ruled Bengal for 160 years, this Rakhine state. Whole of Bengal up to Calcutta and Murshidabad, till Mughal kingdom came, and Shah Shuja was the Subedar Bengal at that time. Aurangzeb took power, and at that time they took whole of Bengal and Bengal and Chittagong, and then the Rakhine, that is Arakanese, went to their original position. And then what happened in 1784? The Burmese government attacked Arakan and took control of Arakan, political control with arms.
Bro, what was the reason? My question was, why? Why did it happen?
At that time, the kingdom, they want to spread our power. So Rakhine state, that Arakan is king, so powerful king, because of internal divisions, and Chittagong they lost. Because Chittagong was one of the main source of income. They become less and less powerful. There was internal fighting of the kings, internal conflict. They become weaker. Then the Burmese attacked them and conquered them. You will be surprised and shocked to hear what they did, Burmese. They are always very, very brutal. And they killed 500,000 Rohingya in 1784 to 89.
Were they still called Rohingyas or Rakhines?
No, Rakhine name is given in 84 by change in the constitution by the Burmese government. The state is called Rakhine, it changed. Rakhine state is there, and because Rakhine is a land, the meaning of that is a land for the people who love their land. And it is, some say it came from Pali word, Indian. You have to understand one thing. Rakhine, that is Arakan, was basically an Indian people. Initially, it was run, main religions of Hinduism. And then Buddhadev went there in 533 BC, and the king invited him. He went there with 500 priests, and they converted the king into Buddhism, and all the population of Arakan became Buddhist. And then when he will be leaving, king requested him to that whether they can make a statue of him. And the king agreed, and he made a statue, and it was there in their capital, and they made a huge Sriti Shod, we call it in Bengali, and it was kept there. And then the king said, you do the blessing of your picture. He gave food, blow his mouth there. And it is very, very prestigious monument in Buddhist society all over the world. What they did in 1784, the Burmese king took it from Arakan to Burma, Rangoon, and since then it is there. And then what happened? The Arakanese became, they lost their kingdom. Then after 40 years, the British took control of Arakan and then Burma. Then they became under British. And then the Japanese came. They started in Second World War. They conquered them in 41, 43, and then the fight started. and the Arakanis, who are the majority Muslim, North Arakanis are Muslim majority, and South Arakanis are Buddhist. The Muslim, they supported British and fought against Japanese, and British government trained them, armed them, everything they gave. And the Buddhist, you'll be surprised, they became friends with Japanese, and they started fighting against the Muslims, Arakanis, and British. But anyway, British held them, and they got rid of the Japanese, and it became free. And then this fight between Muslim and Buddhist started from there.
Right.
And it led to severe consequences, and thus we can see what is happening now.
It's a long history of intrigue, deceit,
That's right.
and lack of trust between the ruled and the rulers.
That's right. Not only that, from 1784, the Arakanis always started fighting against occupation with Buddhist Burmese king, British king, Japanese, and even when the Japanese left, they asked Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah to take them within Pakistan. Jinnah refused. Then they told the Burmese king at that time, Newin.
Right. Okay, sir, we need to take a break, and then when we come back, we will continue with the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking to our distinguished guest, Dr. Qazi Mukhlisur Rahman, and we were talking about the history of the Rohingyas. We have been joined by Syed Badrul Hasan, an eminent journalist, an author, and a very well-known personality in the media world. He was also one time press minister at Bangladesh High Commission in London. And Syed Badrul Hasan has written a number of books, and we'll talk about that. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry I'm late.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. See, London traffic being like that, it's okay. We have a lot of things on our plate today, but 1975, as I said in the beginning, was a very, very sad year for the young nation known as Bangladesh. We became independent in 1971, and then all things happened in 1975. And within 3 months, so many leaders were lost. See. The blackest day perhaps in the history of Bangladesh. The loss of the assassination of Bangabandhu, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and a large number of his family members was one shock that the nation had not overcome, that came November, and the coup and the counter coup and the intrigue and the deceit, and finally the killing of 4 very distinguished top first grade Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's confidants. They all were killed in Dhaka Central Jail. I want you to explain how things happen and what do we understand after so many years. Have we been able to find out who killed, why, and if no investigation has been made so far, why not? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think when we talk of 1975, if we remember, all of us will remember Mr. Q.M. Rahman here is here, you are here, I am here, and of course our viewers are there. In 1971, December 1971, and next month, 16 December, we'll be observing the nation's 50th anniversary of independence. And when I talk about our victory day, our victory in 1971, I make it a point to remind people that in these 50 years, some very tragic events have also taken place. to which we have not exactly found answers. Now, if we talk of 1975, the first thing I would say that three tragic happenings took place in that year. August 15, Bangabandhu's assassination along with most members of his family. Second is 3rd November 1975, the murder of four leaders, the four principal leaders of the Mujibur government, because if we recall, these four men, Sayyid Nazrul Islam, Tajuddin Ahmed, A.H.M. Kamrul Zaman, and Captain Mansur Ali, they were instrumental in forming the Mujibur government and conducting the guerrilla war against the Pakistani occupation forces. They were murdered in the supposed security of Dhaka Central Jails. A jail is supposed to be the most secure place, and they were killed there within the confines of the jail. Then, 4 days later, barely 4 days later, we had three distinguished freedom fighters, Major General, because by that time from brigadier he had become Major General, Major General Khalid Musharraf. Then we have Colonel Khandukar Najmul Huda and Colonel A.T.M. Haider. They were brave, some of our most courageous freedom fighters in the 1971 war, and General Khalid Musharraf still has the reputation of being the most brilliant of our sector commanders in that war. So these three people were killed, and at the same time, a good number of officers in the cantonment, they were killed in the so-called Sipahi Janata Biplab. So now the point is, see, to your question, that is, have we been able to find answers to who killed them or why they were killed? Now, we have had trials of Bangabandhu's assassins, although 6 of these assassins have been executed. There are 5 more who are still outside the country absconding. I will say here that although Bangabandhu's assassins have been tried, what has not been dealt with is the fact of who were behind the conspiracy. One can't really think that only these officers and soldiers who stormed his residence on the 15th of August, in the pre-dawn hours of 15th August 1975, they were the only ones who were responsible. Behind them, there must have been some larger conspiracy.
They might be the perpetrators, but not who was controlling them from behind, who was operating.
Exactly, because we, frankly, we have not yet gone into the actualities of the situation, the realities. How did the Commerce Minister in Bangabandhu's cabinet, Khandukar Mushtaq Ahmed, why did the assassins choose him to be president? Why not the others? So these are, and then again, there have been these rumors, not new rumors, but reports. In the last 46 years since 1975, of the involvement of local conspirators as well as people from outside. So that is there. Then again, we have, if you move on to the tragedy of 7 November. Now, so what happened in 7 November? I would say, and I agree with a whole lot of people, that it was the beginning of an extermination of the nation's freedom fighters. And but the unfortunate fact is, so Bangabandhu's the trial of Bangabandhu's assassins, to the extent possible, that has taken place. We expect more details to come out. Then we expect to be told, to be explained, or to have people who were responsible for the killing of the 4 leaders. That also has to come. That has not emerged in public yet. We still don't know the details. Who were the people who went to Dhaka Central Jail on the 3rd of November and then killed them? And then these people were again allowed to fly to Bangkok with their families. All the assassins. Obviously, the understanding is that these people who killed the 4 leaders are the same people who killed Bangabandhu and his family. Now, to the third point, the assassination of Khalid Musharraf and the 2 other officers. The tragedy is, I have written about it quite often, even a few days ago, on the 7th of November, this 7th of November, I wrote an article raising a number of questions. Now, first of all, who ordered the assassination of these 3 gentlemen, three brilliant officers? No answers have been given. And if we recall the widow of Khalukar Najmuddin, Colonel Huda, she wrote a book where she states that many times she asked General Ziaur Rahman as to who had killed her husband and the other officers. He gave no answer. Now, the point is, whoever killed those people, whoever ordered the murder of those people, most of them are still around. See, of course, in all these 46 years, some people have passed away. That is understandable. But then there are other people who are still around. It is, you see, if the world can try Nazi war criminals after so many years, even now, it is still possible for us to delve into the question of who were behind these people. And now, see, on the 7th of November, this tragedy took place. There are other questions. See, for example, when Major General Khalid Musharraf took over as Army Chief of Staff, he probably did not know of the murders that had taken place in Dhaka prison, because by that time the assassin had flown out of the country. Then the question is, why? I mean, there are also these questions that these reports that between 3rd November and the evening of 6th November, General Musharraf was busy negotiating Khalukar Mushtaq's departure from power. But by that time, the counter-revolutionary forces, if I may put it that way, led by or inspired by Colonel Tahir and the JSD, because if we must remember that Colonel Tahir and the JSD played a very dangerous and negative role at that point of time, and their role led to the killing of not only these 3 officers, but to the massacre of many other officers in the cantonment. So these things, these questions call for reflection, and I would say that right now it is important to go into a proper, full-fledged investigation of the murder of these 3 officers. That's number 1. Number 2, there is no record, say, in the government. There is no official record stating the fact that Major General Khalid Musharraf was Chief of Staff of the Bangladesh Army. Yes, he was there for 4 days, from the 3rd of November up to the 7th of November. But that record is not there. Now, why is it not there? We have a putatively secular government in the country, the Awami League government, which led the movement for liberation. It is their job. No other party has done it or will do it in future. I don't think so. But it is their job to rehabilitate General Musharraf and his colleagues, because they went to their deaths, and the canard, the lie was spread that they were all agents of the Soviet Union and India, Indo-Soviet axis. So that has to be clear, and because I mean we simply cannot afford the role of brilliant Mukti Bahini officers, liberation war soldiers or freedom fighters to be just obliterated in that way. So because there has been no investigation into the murder of 7 November, murder of General Musharraf and the 2 other officers, we have had other tragedies coming in. General Zia himself, he could have taken the lead, assuming of course that he was not involved. He could have taken the lead in investigating the murder of these officers, but he did not do that. As a result of which, we see that in future, he was also killed. Major General Manzoor, he was also killed. There are 13 military officers, they were tried on charges of conspiring to kill General Ziaur Rahman. They were tried and they were also hanged in September 12 of them were hanged in September 1981. One was ill, he was taken to hospital, and then he was treated, given medical treatment, and then he was hanged. But then I'll point out something else here. The senior-most officer among the 13 officers who were hanged, executed on charges of being involved in the assassination of General Ziaur Rahman, that was Brigadier Mohsinuddin. He wrote a letter to his wife from his jail, from his prison, and he simply told her, I don't know why I'm being held. I have nothing to do with the conspiracy, but they have decided to try us and hang us for something we did not do. So all these mysteries remain, and we need closure. And we need closure. We can have closure only after proper investigation, because our younger generation, you and I know, all 3 of us who are present on this program today, we know. But then the future, the generations born after 1971 and after 1975, they have their questions. People, children born after them, who will be born after them, they will have questions. And if a nation does not resolve all these questions that have to do with its history, that is very unfortunate.
Thank you, Syed Badrul Hasan. We owe it to our nation, our young children and the younger generation and future generations the answers to this. But we also need to take a break here, and then we'll come back, we'll talk about it further, and we'll bring in our other guests into the discussion. Thank you. Don't go away, we'll be back soon. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about Bangladesh in 1975 and the murderous scene that was there in August and also in November. And a very detailed background was given by Syed Badrul Hasan. We'll talk about that here, and I would like our other guest, Dr. Qazi Mukhlisur Rahman, to contribute something to this, as he was talking about the murder of the 4 leaders in prison and the details of it, who had ordered them. Dr. Qazi Mukhlisur Rahman, please. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. And the murder of 3 important
Four.
action the army took and killed, that has destroyed our progressive political front in Bangladesh, who fought for freedom, brought freedom to the country, and they promised to give us a better future, and we lost that. And since then, we have suffered and suffered. Now, somehow democracy is there, his daughter is involved. But in 1975, what I'm going to tell you that my brother has already mentioned, but I want to give you some account, and then I shall tell you other account.
Yeah.
I am talking about fact that on the morning I was in Dhaka, in medical college. Suddenly I found there a tank in front of Dhaka Medical College by the side of Dhaka University ground.
Yeah.
And then I found one of the supplement leader, doctor. He told me, Mukul, this happened, get out of there. I got out of it with Dr. Shishir Kumar Mojumdar. He was a member of Communist Party Bangladesh. We went into hiding in Chowk Bazar. But anyway, that's not the point. Point is, Bangabandhu was killed, and there is an eyewitness. I was very lucky to hear it. I thought that at least a nation should know. But I'm sure he's not alive now, he is dead. He was the special intelligence, special branch officer of Dhaka, and he was in.
Was he staying at Bangabandhu's house?
No, yeah, he was in the Bangabandhu's house on that night, and he was in charge.
Mm-hmm. Of the security.
And he was in charge of. There was 12 other police officers. Night before, he told me Bangabandhu signed and changed all the guard in the house, and all was changed. And he said, I was sleeping in the bench, sitting on a bench around 2:30 in the morning, and before that, Bangabandhu's youngest son, he was crying. He was with the police in the front, and he was crying, and the police put him back in the house with his mother. And when he was sitting in a chair in the bench, police and one of the police officers came and said, "Sir, look, something very strange. What happened? Bangabandhu and Nasser Shah is downstairs. They are opening the pordas and looking here and there and looking up and down.
Looking out.
And looking out, and light is on." So he went inside, and he found Sheikh Mujib, Bangabandhu, and Nasser Shab is there. I called him Nasser Nana. Don't get worried about that. You're my habit. And at that time, nothing happened. Then he was waiting, and then suddenly he felt the front of the house, the gate. People is rushing as if that they have broken the gate. And he told me that I thought, is it my police officers are running inside the building? And officer came to Bangabandhu's room with Nasser, and a group ran up the stairs and went upstairs.
Who were these?
And
Who were
they were
these
army
people?
officers, army Sipahi and officers. And then he found their army officer and Sipahi. He was with Sheikh Mujib, Nasser was with him, and Kamal was in another room. There was a sound of a bullet firing, and Bangabandhu told that police officer, he was DSP, that they have killed Kamal. Then Bangabandhu, after a few minutes, he wanted to go upstairs. He came up to the stairs. He was coming towards the stairs. And he said he can hear a big noise. One army officer is running down the stairs and saying, all has been killed with their families.
Yeah, all
And
have
then
been killed,
he
yeah.
said, and he said by this time the army, the downstairs, they lined all the police and also put him in the line. And they have already killed one police. And then when the police officer ran down, he was saying, what you are doing, stop it. And he stopped this police killing. And that I heard, because I went to my friend's house. He is a doctor, he is a witness, he is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. His wife is a doctor.
Thank you
And
very much, Dr. Mukhlisur Rahman, for this very candid detail. Now, I would like to ask Badrul Hasan Bhai about, there was a webinar organized by the Sector 2 freedom fighters, as you were still alive and kicking in Dhaka. On 7th of November, there was a webinar, and General Haroon was there, you know, who became the commander-in-chief. And he went into the details of those 3-4 very dramatic days, or unfortunate days. And he mentioned that while he was the chief of the army, he wanted to conduct an inquiry into what had happened on between 3rd and 7th November 1975. But he did not find any trace of any record at all. And he said that he found out at least this much, that the records were removed or destroyed perhaps by orders from above. Now who is this above, or how above, we do not know, but this is what it was. And I think you have mentioned something like that in one of your articles.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, General Haroon is a very respected person. I respect him very much personally. He was also a freedom fighter. But yes, I'm not surprised that he was not able to find any documents related to the tragic happenings of, let's say, 7th November. Because I am sure these papers, these documents were destroyed at that time, so that the people who took over the country on the 7th of November, they were very shrewd people, and they did not want to keep any trace, because I'm sure they knew that a time might come when conditions might change, and they would have to answer to the country and to history. So those documents have been removed, have been well, let's say destroyed. I'm not sure if they can at all be recovered. But the fact remains that whatever happened in those days between 3rd November and 7th November is part of history. We know it. We who were there, see, in our younger days, we were at the university, and I mean, people of our age, they know. So I think the fact that these documents have been destroyed should not be any reason for let's say, for the country to keep quiet about it, because fresh investigations can begin on what happened in those times. Because as I said earlier, the JSD was involved. Many of those people who were involved in the JSD, for example, one of my very good friends, he's a leading historian in Bangladesh now, Mohyuddin Ahmed. He was associated with JSD, but in the last few years he's been writing some very good books, particularly on the JSD. His recent book is on Sirajul Alam Khan. So these people, these scholars, teachers, and also senior army officers who have now retired and are still alive can be questioned, can be interviewed. And as I said earlier, most of these officers, whoever ordered it, because there's one point about 7th November is in early in the morning when General Musharraf and Colonels Huda and ATM Haider, by that time they knew that they were doomed, and they moved. They were in the BDR, former BDR area, and then they went to Shere Bangla Nagar, which was the headquarters of 10 Bengal. And 10 Bengal was supposed to be very loyal to General Musharraf. He didn't know that they would 10 Bengal would also turn against him. And when they were there, they were served with breakfast because they were also very tired and hungry. And at that point, the commander who was there, commander of 10 Bengal, he reportedly made a telephone call to the cantonment, apparently to General Zia, who had by then been freed by Colonel Tahir and his supporters in the army. And apparently, we're not sure. Apparently, Zia said that these men should not be harmed, so keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
Within a few minutes, as these three men were having their breakfast, actually you can understand, they did not suspect any foul play. At that point, at the door, reportedly, again, Colonel Tahir was seen at the door. He didn't come into the room. He stood at the door, observed these three men, and then he went back with the men who came with him. A few minutes later, another group of soldiers came in. They simply assaulted these three officers, took them outside, and shot them down. That was the end of these three officers. So now the question remains: if Zia had said that these men should be kept safe, should not be harmed, so should be safe with 10 Bengal, maybe he would have questioned them later or whatever. But then they were killed. Now I'm sure that these men are the men who are there, despite the absence of documents that we have. We can the state, the country, the government that we have now can still go into an investigation in the same way that it can also go into an investigation of who ordered the killing of General Manzoor in June, on the 1st of June 1982. 1st of June 1981, soon after General Zia was killed. Because General Manzoor, see, these are all these gaps in our history that we have to face. Because after General Zia had been killed, again, reportedly General Manzoor wanted to talk to General Hussain Mohammad Irshad, who was then Chief of Staff of the Bangladesh Army. And but Irshad refused to take the call. Now that raises the question, how much did Irshad know of the coup that was taking place in Chittagong against Zia? I say, was he involved? Was he not involved? These are also questions that need to be answered. Finally, see, as I said earlier, if we talk of August 1975, November 3, 1975, November 7, 1975, say, we can understand that November 3 and November 7 were incidents that involved these soldiers, these assassins who had murdered Bangabandhu, and who then murdered the four national leaders, and then, of course, these other officers led by or inspired by Colonel Tahir, they murdered General Musharraf and the two other officers, and later on other officers. But about August 1975, I think there is yet a need for all of us, for the nation, to go into the details of the civilians who were involved in. I mean, it is just not possible that only these 12 or 13 army officers, they went there and they carried out the deed, that misdeed. So there's all these people who were involved there. Because you see, on the day Bangabandhu was killed, at dawn on the day 15th August, back in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, the general manager of Pakistan Television, he kept asking his colleagues if there was any news from Dhaka. And that was early in the morning at 6 o'clock in Dhaka. In Urdu, he asked, Dhaka se koi khabar aaya hai? And they said, no, sir. And then when finally the news went in that Bangabandhu and his family had been assassinated, and they flashed the news. A few minutes later, soon afterwards, after Khandukar Mushtaq had been installed as president by those killers, if we recall very well, of course, Pakistan's Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he quickly recognized what he called the Islamic Republic of Bangladesh. He thought it had become Islamic Republic of Bangladesh. It had not become Islamic Republic of Bangladesh. And then he also announced a donation of rice and cloth to the people of Bangladesh. So all these things, fall into a pattern. In October 1974, if we read Stanley Wolpert's book on Bhutto, Zulfi Bhutto of Pakistan, there he mentions the fact that one extremist leftist Bangladesh politician, Abdul Haq, and so he wrote a letter to Prime Minister Bhutto asking for financial, and moral assistance and military assistance to remove what he called the illegal Mujib government. So these conspiracies were going on there. So these, I think, we need. It is not enough to say that we keep hearing from leading political figures that we are taking the country back to secularism. We are going to establish democracy. Fine, that's a good deed. But then, before we do that, we have to resolve these questions. Because, if we don't resolve these questions, if we don't come to the end of these investigations and tell our people what actually happened, that means our history remains empty. History remains
incomplete.
Incomplete. It's a vacuum.
Thank you,
Brother. A nation can't move ahead with a historical vacuum.
Thank you, sir, for being so candid about all the things, and your contribution was great. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your time. Thank you, Dr. Qazi Mukhlis Rahman. I wish that I had 2 hours to discuss all these things, but if wishes were fulfilled, we will fly. We will have wings. But anyway, thank you very much. It was a pleasure hosting you, and it was a pleasure talking to you and bringing you two gentlemen, experienced gentlemen, together. And inshallah, some other day we'll meet again. In the meantime, take care.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you. Thanks to Dr. Rahman also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.